Good day everyone, this is Raj Rana, the Managing Director here at Devonshire Accountants. We've just got another update on the new coronavirus stimulus package which has been introduced by the government on 30th March 2020, which is our Jobkeeper payment. There's a lot of information which we have received, so we have tried our best to summarize this, and obviously as this goes through Parliament and passes through, there might be other changes and we'll keep you updated. Obviously the aim of this is to basically stem the loss of jobs. The government has introduced this as part of the stimulus package, and we feel that this is aimed at keeping the employee and employer relationship. So obviously after the coronavirus has passed on, so the relationship is there to be maintained. There's a lot of talk the last 2 days actually, and basically this seems to be like a game changer. We have never seen something like this before, never remotely seen something like this before, and it's a welcome package, and it's going to change the way things are. So we're moving on. I'll quickly summarize what this is. So the Jobkeeper payment is for eligible employees who can claim up to $1,500 per fortnight per eligible employee, which I'll discuss in a moment. Effective 30th March 2020, with payments commencing on the first week of May 2020, and this will continue for 6 months. This subsidy will be paid by the ATO, and we will ensure that the government is going to ensure that an eligible employee receives a gross payment. So this is going to be before tax of $1,500 per fortnight. Also, this Jobkeeper payment is self-employed individuals. Now, these are individuals without employees. This is the information we have received from the Treasury as well. So self-employed individuals can also qualify to receive the Jobkeeper payment. And I'll give an example later on towards the end of the video how this is going to be working. Now, which businesses are eligible? So there are three main points. So businesses with a turnover of less than 1 billion Australian dollars. So that means your turnover should have been reduced by more than 30% relative to a comparable period 1 year ago. So they're going to compare what your sales and turnover was 1 year ago and what it is now, because due to the coronavirus, and there should be a reduction of 30%. For larger businesses with turnover of 1 billion or more, the turnover should be reduced by more than 50% relative to a comparable period 1 year ago. So the same thing, but obviously 50%. The third point is a business is not subject to major bank levy. And one key point again, which keeps coming up again, is that self-employed individuals, businesses without employees, and they've added non-profit entities, including charities that satisfy the above requirements, will be eligible to apply for the Jobkeeper payment. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, it's a big change, and I think it's a game changer. When can the Jobkeeper payment be claimed in respect of an employee? Now, basically, the ATO or the Treasury and the government have brought the term eligible employee. Now, you must satisfy these conditions. So there are around 6 conditions here which have to be satisfied for you to be an eligible employee. So the first one is the employee is currently employed by the employer. So basically you should be working at the moment. So this also includes, interesting, people who have been stood down or rehired after they had lost their job. So that's an interesting point there. Point number 2, the employee was employed by the employer as of the 1st of March 2020, so the beginning of this month. The employee is a full-time or part-time employee, or including a long-term casual employee who has been employed by the employer on a regular basis for longer than 12 months at, again, 1st March 2020. The fourth point here we have is the employee should be at least 16 years of age. And next point is that the employee is an Australian citizen or a holder of a permanent visa, a protected special category visa holder, a non-protected special category visa holder who has been residing continually in Australia for 10 years or more, or a special category sub-visa 444 visa holder. Now, we had a lot of calls this morning regarding this requirement, So I will repeat that. So the employee has to be an Australian citizen or a holder of a permanent visa, which is PR in short, or a protected special category visa holder, a non-protected special category visa holder. So these are people with New Zealand passports and who have been residing in Australia for 10 years or more. And they've also added a special category subclass 444 visa holder. And you can obviously check this more with the immigration department on these subclasses, as you know, I'm not an expert on that, but this is information received. So importantly, please note that you have to fall into one of these categories. Last but not least, the employee is not in receipt of a JobKeeper payment from another employer. So in practical terms, what this means is that you might be working for multiple employers. So employees cannot claim from all the employers. So if you're working for A, B, C, there'll only be A, B, or C employer who would be able to claim the job seeker payment. Now, how does the business apply for the JobKeeper payment? As mentioned earlier, this is still going through Parliament, but what is happening at the moment is that you can register your interest in the JobKeeper payment. So businesses have to register their interest with the ATO, and this can be done directly on their website. So this is just an interest. You're not applying, it's not an application. As we get more information on the application, we shall keep you posted. So these again will then kick off in May 2020. So eligible employers that once we do apply on an online application will need to provide supporting information demonstrating the downturn in the business, and must report the number of eligible employees employed with the business on a monthly basis. So what the ATO are looking here is a down curve to see that your business has been affected, and I think turnover has gone down, and we will need to report on a monthly basis to ATO the employees. So moving on, businesses without employees, which I mentioned earlier, the self-employed individuals. In their case, they will need to provide their ABN number for their business. They'll have to nominate an individual to receive the JobKeeper payment and provide that individual's tax file number, as well as they have to provide a declaration on the recent business activity. So basically this is to demonstrate the downturn in the business. These businesses will also need to provide a monthly update to ATO in order to declare the eligibility of this JobKeeper payment. So it's going to be an ongoing, obviously, relationship with the ATO. We have to keep them informed of what's happening with the business and how many employees there are and how many employees will be on a monthly basis. So this $1,500, obviously, now I've been asked a lot of questions again as how this JobKeeper payment is going to be applied to an eligible business. What I've done is to make it easier, is to basically give an example on how this is going to work. But a key point which I would like to mention here is that an eligible employer has the option of choosing whether or not to provide superannuation guarantee support in respect of any additional salary income to the extent that it relates to the JobKeeper payment paid in eligible employee by an employer. So in my example, it will be a bit clearer. So it's a simple example. So what I've done is I've mentioned Steve has a business whose turnover has declined 30% as a result of the downturn due to the coronavirus. The business has 3 employees as of the 1st of March 2020. We got Anne, who's a permanent full-time employee and continues to work in the business, earning a gross salary of $3,000 per fortnight. We have Nick, who's a permanent part-time employee and continues to work in the business, earning a gross salary of $1,000 per fortnight. And we have Fred, who was recently stood down from the business without pay. Now, Adam's business is, if we look at the rules which I mentioned, is eligible for the JobKeeper payment for each employee, for Anne, Nick and Fred, for $1,500 per fortnight before tax for a maximum of 6 months. So what's going to happen, the JobKeeper payment would provide the following benefits. So what's going to happen is, in the case of Anne, she receives $3,000. So the $1,500 will obviously help Adam to pay that. Now for Nick, because he's being paid $1,000 per fortnight, so what's going to happen is that Adam, the employer, would have to pay him the additional $500 gross amount per fortnight, resulting in a total gross fortnightly salary of $1,500. So in this case, the JobKeeper payment fully is used against Nick's salary. Again, about superannuation, the business must continue to provide Nick with superannuation guarantee support on the $1,000 he was receiving initially on fortnight. And obviously what's going to happen is that the business will start, moving on to Fred, the business will start paying Fred a gross salary of $1,500 per fortnight. So obviously, as mentioned in the example, Fred was stood down. So once he's been put back onto the books, he can receive $1,500 per fortnight, which the subsidy will cover that. Again, just like to mention again that the business has the option of choosing to pay superannuation on the amount paid to Fred, in this case for the JobKeeper payment scheme. And again, if Fred commenced receiving Centrelink support because he was stood down, which is a job seeker payment, he will need to advise Centrelink immediately of his JobKeeper payments. So that's how this is going to work in the example I provided, and I hope that's been useful. Lastly, I'd just like to mention just a small example on self-employed people affected with the COVID-19 with no employees. Now, as mentioned earlier, we are still waiting for more information from the Treasury and the government, and we will make that available. So I've got an example. We've got Maria, and she's a sole trader running a florist shop without any employees. So she's a florist, she has no employees, she's running the show. Now, the economic downturn due to the coronavirus has affected her business quite a bit because, as you know, there's a lot of shops which have closed down and a lot of people cannot go to the malls. So now she's expecting that her business turnover is going to fall by less than 30% compared typically a month 1 year ago. So she'll need to compare what's happened in 2019 and what's happened in 2020, and we'll compare. And if that income, the turnover, has fallen by 30%, Maria will be eligible for this JobKeeper payment and would receive $1,500 before tax, which would be paid to her by the HU. And obviously, I think we need to be very careful with a lot of details coming through yet. As I know, and a lot of people are already applied for the job seeker payment. So there is a bit of confusion with the JobKeeper and job seeker payment. So just like to clear that the JobKeeper payment will be applied by the businesses for each employee. And again, I said it's going to build up a good relationship. It's a game changer in Australia. I hope this has been useful information for everyone. We will keep you updated with any changes which happen onto the JobKeeper payment as soon as we hear. In the meantime, please do follow the government's instructions. Self-isolation, staying at home, working from home. Please, as I requested earlier, we need to follow the government's instructions. Be safe. Thank you very much. Thank you.